On my recent trip to the garden route, I met with Andre, the owner of Pygmy Bonsai, located just behind the BP garage on the N2, right after the exit to the garden route mall, on your way to Wilderness. Andre took me on a fascinating tour of his nursery, where we discussed the beautiful trees he had on display and the diligent process he uses to cultivate them. Andre grows most of his bonsai trees from seeds and cuttings. He spends several years training them in the open ground before transferring them to training pots. Once they have matured, they are finally placed into bonsai pots, ready to be sold to the public. This lengthy process means Andre carefully selects only a few trees to be sold each year.
My name's Andre Kricher, and I'm here at the Pygmy Bonsai Nursery in George. I started doing bonsai 31 years ago. I was a student at Stellenbosch University at the time, and my mother had come to visit me and brought with a magazine clipping of the hobby of bonsai, and it looked quite fascinating to me, so I thought I'd try it. I think the first 3 trees I killed within a few months, doing all the usual things wrong, keeping it indoors, barely watering them, over pruning them, just doing too much at a time. But slowly I started to learn how not to kill the trees, but look after them properly. And after a few years, I had a collection of probably in the region of 200 or 300 trees. And I got to a point where I had to make a decision whether I would either stop the hobby or stop my job at the time. And I chose bonsai. And so for the last 26 years now, I've had the nursery here in George. I also do a lot of woodwork. I make furniture besides the nursery. But it's still a passion of mine. I really enjoy. When I started bonsai, the thing that interested me were the actual original oriental trees. So these Chinese and Japanese trees that you would see in books, because at the time when I started, the internet was in its infancy, and there wasn't really images of bonsai yet available. So there were a few books one could get hold of, and they almost always showed Japanese and Chinese trees. And so that was really what I was keen on. Unfortunately, very few of those tree species were available at nurseries in South Africa. And so with great difficulty I imported seed of a number of different exotic trees like Japanese black pine and red pine. And I tried lots of different trees, spruces and larches, crab apples. I can't even remember most of the things that I had imported. And I slowly over the years settled on things that I found to be tolerant to not only the coast but also inland climates. I do grow mostly exotic trees. I grow an amount of indigenous trees, but my favorite trees are still some of the original species used for bonsai. So I grow Japanese black pine. It's very tough and rugged and puts up with most conditions. I grow lots of different elms, Chinese elms of different varieties. You would know the cork bark and the miniature cork bark and the silver bark and all of these different ones. And I also grow Japanese elm, the Zelkova. I grow quite a few different crab apples from Japan, pink flowering, white flowering crab apples. I've recently, although I've been growing the tree for many years, I've recently started raising cherry plums, which are also known as purple plums. The cherry plum has got sort of a deep purple leaf through the spring and summer and a light pink blossom early spring. And the bark is a deep purpley black color. So it's quite a nice tree for bonsai and something I'm looking forward to in the next few years having more of. as well as the orange jasmine from China, Murraya paniculata, which has these beautiful jasmine-like flowers, but it's an evergreen with fairly small dark green leaves. I'm working on having more of them in the nursery over the next few years. The other trees that I like to grow a lot of are swamp cypress from North America, which are quick growers and are ideal for bonsai. And I field grow many of them and produce some fairly large ones. You could probably see some at a stage on the video. I grow an amount of different fig trees. As some of the indigenous trees I grow wild fig and felt fig, and also grow red-leafed rock fig. Then I grow a Chinese fig as well, the Ficus retusa or microcarpa. What other trees I grow? Some indigenous thorn trees, the black monkey and the knobthorn primarily. I grow some wild olive. Other exotic trees that I grow quite a lot of are oak species like the cork oak and sometimes the common or English oak or Turkish oak. I grow coral trees as indigenous trees, mostly as large bonsai, just like Bougainvillea that I grow as another exotic. Seldom do I grow them for small bonsai. The coral trees and the Bougainvilleas are mostly larger sizes, but great for flowering.
In addition to the trees for sale, Andre has a stunning private collection. His Bougainvilleas and coral trees were in full bloom, showcasing the beauty of flowering bonsai. Flowering bonsai are truly captivating as they add a unique charm to any collection. Personally, I found them especially appealing as I've struggled to get my own flowering species to bloom.
I find that most people when they're starting off choose Chinese elms. It's probably over the last 25 years the tree that I've grown the most of and sold the most of. And is also one of the first trees that I successfully kept as a bonsai. Chinese elms are probably one of the longest used broadleaf trees in the history of bonsai. There are Chinese elms that are hundreds of years old in gardens in China, and they make, although they are enormous trees in a garden or in the wild, oak tree like, they make fantastic pot plants and are ideal to keep as bonsai. The leaves are very small and get smaller fairly quickly. The twigs are very thin, the bark looks nice and old, and they grow pretty quickly. So for a first-time person looking after a bonsai, you could actually be quite surprised about how slow the trees grow and how little you prune. Sometimes people think it's going to be daily or weekly, but you can go months between pruning. Even on a fairly quick-growing tree, you might only prune it 2 or 3 times in the whole spring and summer season. Part of bonsai is adhering to seasonal things, and I think sometimes one of the things people fall prey to is wanting to do too much and being in too big of a hurry when they start bonsai. And for example, it's now winter time and people that start now come to the nursery and they want to start potting trees right now. My advice is always just hang on a few months. At the moment it's way too cold and trees often struggle if they're disturbed in the soil and then still have to get through a month or 2 of cold weather. So sticking to the seasons, which you'll find pretty much any bonsai book will give you a basic outline of what is suitable and when. And so pruning and repotting, fertilizing and all these things have got times that they will benefit the tree, and if you don't adhere to those, they can harm the tree. And you can kill trees by overfeeding them. You can kill trees by repotting them at odd times of the year. And so once you get those basics and that bit of patience down, you'll find they're actually quite easy to look after. If you want to grow something indigenous as a starter, people often go for trees like a wild fig. They're quite commonly available. They're fairly difficult to kill. Whether you overwater them or underwater them, they're quite tolerant. And they're also very quick growers. I would say the downfall is that even with regular clipping, their leaves don't get particularly small, and so the elm, all the years that I've been growing and selling bonsai, is always the most popular tree to be purchased.
My time with Andre was truly inspiring. His extensive knowledge and passion for bonsai were evident, and I wish I could have spent more time in the nursery gaining hands-on experience. If you ever find yourself in the area, I highly recommend visiting Pygmy Bonsai. You'll be amazed at what they have to offer.
Every year during the month of October, I put out stock, and I don't have a lot of trees every year, but everywhere from about the end of the first week of October up till the end of the month, I will put out whatever there is going to be for sale for that next year. And then that's it for the year, because I grow all the trees here. I lift trees outside of this plot maybe very rarely. 95% or more of the trees I propagate here from scratch, from seed or cutting, layering, or whichever method I find easiest for that species. And then I field grow trees after some years of initial bag growing. I field grow trees to thicken up trunks and develop taper, and then later harvest trees out the field at the end of winter. And they go into large plastic containers for a year to 3 years to develop some branching before potting them. And I pot trees all through August and September every year, and then the trees are established by October in full growth, and that's when I put prices on that stock again for that year. I do also offer services to customers like repotting people's trees, pruning trees, wiring trees, and also one of the things that I find very important is a holiday care, because being here in George, we have quite a lot of people from overseas that stay here for only part of the year, and particularly German and British people enjoy bonsai, and I do have some customers at places like Fancourt and Obi Resort that keep trees, but they leave them here with me for 6 to 8 months of the year. So I don't charge very much, but I offer that service to care for the trees as well. I think keeping the trees alive is very important to me, and the thing that I've heard over the years that is probably the single biggest reason for bonsai dying is it being left in somebody's care, a neighbour or a friend, and it's not their hobby. So offering that, I think, is a very important place to be able to leave your tree if you're away for a month or a week even. So we do those services. I do sell imported pots and some tools, but I don't have huge supplies of things like that. And I also, these last years, I don't sell trees that are not potted. So all the nursery stock is established trees in pots. Unfortunately, I don't sell any more trees that are still in growing stages, just because of time constraints and because I propagate everything here. But if you visit the nursery, or you can view on our Facebook page, Pygmy Bonsai Nursery, we do have every October, we have pictures of all the trees with age and price and name. So you can have a look on there, and people will usually just WhatsApp me what they would like, and then I would crate so as to make couriering effective. To date, we've not lost a tree or a branch in couriering. I charge a bit extra, but I make a solid wooden crate that each tree is cling wrapped as well, the soil surface, and clamped down in the crate. So even if the courier puts it upside down or sideways, it's impossible to move. And so we do a fair bit of that. So if you are interested, you're welcome to contact me about that.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel for more bonsai adventures. Don't forget to turn on the notifications to stay updated with new content. Till next time, happy bonsaiing.